3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, and welcome to Drone News Now. Welcome to Drone UHQ. As always, my name is Paul. Just a heads up, there might be a delay in the next couple of news shows as my wife is expecting a baby, even maybe today. So we'll just give me some patience, but we'll have the news out to you just as soon as we can. With that said, it looks like you're still gonna wanna pick up any DJI drone before December 23rd of 2025, as that's when the DJI ban is going to take place. A major development this week as DJI lost its lawsuit against the Pentagon. The Pentagon, thanks to the Department of Defense, remains that DJI is quote unquote a Chinese military company. It is interesting though, as DoD has admitted that DJI is not quote unquote controlled by China's government or the military, but federal contractors are still banned in the United States from flying DJI. For anyone trying to take advantage of the numerous federal contracts that are out there to make money for mapping, creative, etc., unfortunately, you cannot use any DJI drones. Which is interesting because in our next piece of news, the DJI is pushing back against the FAA now regarding the Part 108 or Beyond Visual Line of Sight rules, which actually is really interesting because if you think about it, if the FAA were to leave the BVLOS rules as they are, they would cement America's downfall and allow China to win the drone war. What do I mean? Well, what drives the economy? In every industrial revolution, there's one common theme that has massively expanded the economies as a whole. What is it? It's ease and convenience and transportation. So it's essentially, can we move products and goods faster than before and make more products and goods available and more convenient for purchase? It's literally that simple. Well, with drone delivery, you would massively increase demand and capacity to deliver items for sale. I have friends in China right now. You can literally go to most common public places, order a tea, order a Luckin coffee, and it'd be there in 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, it's crazy. So DJI is criticizing the FAA because they believe their Beyond Visual Line of Sight rules would cut out all DJI pilots and even most American manufacturers too. DJI is criticizing this on a couple of things. Number one, they're stating that the SUI, or the Simple User Interface, essentially is saying they're essentially saying that the FAA is allowing you to crash. It's okay to crash. And if you think about it, if you think about a simple user interface, this means no manual control. This means that in the case of an emergency, a pilot cannot actually take over the controls and stop a potential hazard or problem, which is completely defies Part 107 if you think about it. But what's even more interesting is if you think about it, the FAA saying it's okay to crash. Because with these automated systems, are you going to be able to do a tornado motion, a leaf motion? Are you going to be able to adjust the stick just a little bit so that way if you're about to hit someone or something, you can adjust that stick? It goes to show the lack of experience that's still at the FAA, and thank God for the Trump administration showcasing that the FAA over the last 5 years has been a complete nightmare. We all knew it, it's just now being said. That being said, what's important to understand is that if the FAA were doing their job, they would actually have performance-based systems to avoid crashes. So let's take the top 3 uses of crashes. Battery issues, weather, orientation. Okay, orientation won't be an issue because you're practically flying the drone FPV when you're flying beyond visual line of sight. So we can take that out. Let's cover the other 2. Okay, battery issues. Most manufacturers still rely on battery percentage, not some sort of formulaic performance-based system for nominal battery voltage. Something that we've developed and we've had here as a part of our operations course for almost a decade. It's really simple. You can avoid most crashes if you do one simple thing. But the FAA, instead of actually researching their capabilities and understanding, they've relied on Beltway bandits who were in the industry for 1 or 2 years and now claim to be experts in DC. I know because I lived in DC and that's about 90% of the people who work in DC. That being said, there are a lot of great people who work in DC too, don't get me wrong. That being said, it's really crucial to understand with this simple user interface, most DJI pilots, most American drones would not be allowed to fly under beyond visual line of sight. As drafted, only drones built in the US or countries with specific bilateral agreements would also qualify for beyond visual line of sight. In addition, 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz cannot be used as radio frequency for beyond visual line of sight. And they're treating low risk beyond visual line of sight operations as high risk. They're also saying that beyond visual line of sight operations in sub 55-pound drones would be forced to register their drone under Part 47. That's that really cute, old school sheet that you fill out and it's got the carbon copy back on it and all that, and you get an N number for your drone. They're saying, why do that when there's an existing digital system? Now, for me, I have not put out comments on the BVLOS stuff. I'm gonna write them out and put them and link them on our website so you can read them. There's a lot of really great content out there from people who I'd even call my competitors. Sometimes competitors, sometimes not, mostly just annoying. But that being said, right now, our future ability to fly lies in the hands of our ability to collaborate. It's time to stop the defamation, the libel, the slander, all those things, and work together. There's a lot of different entities that have great comments that you've got to put in professional words. Use ChatGPT to make it more professional, to make it unique, but make sure that you make your voice known. Do I think it's going to cause any difference? I think it's worth a shot. I do. I know with remote ID and the NPRM, it did not make a lick of difference. And in all honesty, I'm still going to comment because I would rather comment and there be no change than not comment and, have regretted not commenting. For me, I don't want to live in regret. So I'm going to go ahead and comment on those rules. I'll have those comments as well. But it is interesting in this particular piece of news that the DJI is calling out the FAA when they could just say nothing and cement China's lead in the drone space. Think about that. I'm sorry, I can't get past that. I find that really, really interesting. I don't know if that was an internal error or a strategic move. Either way, very interesting. On our next piece of news, it looks like the Department of Homeland Security has pretty much shut down airspace in Chicago until October 12th. That sucks, but remember there are ways to be able to fly in a TFR. If the TFR is associated with an airport, typically you can call the airport manager and get permission to fly in the TFR. In addition, if it's run by a federal agency, there will be a person in charge who can give you permission to fly in TFRs. This summer I did a lot of work in Texas and I came into contact with 2 TFRs. In both instances, I was actually able to get permission to fly. Now, they will only give you permission to fly if you actually have a legitimate business need, and you might have to prove that as well. In our next piece of news, and something that we've talked about a lot here at Drone U, is security with Drone in a Box. We see this as a massive opportunity for things like public events, political events, etc. Imagine, even in Trump's case, imagine if there was a drone in a box system that was being used as a service to monitor the area. Any person that was on any roof would have been seen with the drone. So Flock Safety is saying we're coming out with drone as security, or DAS, for critical infrastructure, airports, warehouses, healthcare, and so much more. Now, personally, I would love to see more companies come out with drone security as a service, but not Flock. And the reason is that I believe that Flock Safety, now this is the company that's putting those black cameras with solar panels all over your neighborhood, that data is actually sold to stores. That data is sold to enterprise individuals to track your motions, know where you spend money, know how to maximize your spending of money. It is completely manipulative, and frankly, it is also completely illegal because there's not supposed to be any domestic surveillance whatsoever. Now, they would argue that they're following between some lines, but honestly, the Constitution is the Constitution, and there's not supposed to be any domestic surveillance, period, end of story. I'm not sure if Flock Safety remembers the company PSI out of Baltimore, but they were constantly surveilling people in a different way, and the Supreme Court shut them down. Now, I know Flock Safety has some lawsuits pending against them. It'll be interesting to see what plays out there. And I don't really care who works there, who's affiliated with it, whose family, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't be making money off of manipulating Americans and violating the law, whether it's the gray area due to tech or not. That's my personal opinion, not the opinion of Drone U. I just think it's really important to get out there because we are paying for this. These cameras are not owned by your local governments, your counties, your cities, your municipalities. They're being leased to them at astronomical rates. I mean, these cameras are probably like $200, if that, with a $50 solar panel. and we're paying $500 a year per location. And then that goes up. There's a great video on YouTube about flock safety systems. I'll try to find it and link it below. You should really watch it if you haven't. And our last piece of news, Auterion, which as many of you know is the backbone of many American drones with their Skynode system, etc., their flight controllers. They just raised $130 million in their Series B. They got funding for AI-enabled drone software and low-cost hardware at scale. This is a notable shift for Auterion. In our last piece of news, remember, with the Pentagon saying no, DJI is a Chinese military company, read the writing on the wall. Pick up the drones that you want to survive the next couple of years as American drone prices start to come down and we can get better systems overall. You can get the Mini 5 Pro on eBay. We have one, it's amazing. I understand why they wouldn't want DJI here because anyone who can build a drone like that for $1,000 is impressive. I mean, I want you, for your veteran pilots who've been flying Phantom 4 Pros, Phantom 2s, Phantom 3s, imagine that big backpack you used to have with all your batteries. He had that 1-inch sensor, the 4K 60, the mapping capability, etc., etc. That is now all existing in a Mini 5 Pro that's like this big and fits in a nice little satchel. Wow. So it's going to be interesting to see how readily available they become. We have seen them again on eBay. You can pick them up yourself. A lot of drone news. Again, there might be a slight delay, or you might see an AI version of me, or a new employee here at Drone U giving you the drone news over the next few weeks. I just want to say thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the support. We've got some great videos coming out. So a new class that we're just launching too. Really excited on that. I think many of you are going to like it. Hint, hint, pick up an extra Avata 2 if you like challenging yourself, having a lot of purpose, doing fun work, and getting paid well in a service that scales easily. So all that to be said, thanks again for joining me here at Drone U HQ.